So right now, it's 2016. And if you're a gamer, there are quite a few games having their anniversaries. But two of the most notable game franchises having their anniversaries are Pokemon and Sonic the Hedgehog. But at the same time, both are kind of irrelevant. So first, let me talk about Pokemon, because that's the lesser of two evils right now, and I might as well talk about what the series is doing wrong and why its 20th anniversary is a disappointment. Now, Pokemon is one of the biggest multimedia franchises, and it's easy to see why. Just like other multimedia franchises like Star Wars, Pokemon is a toyetic franchise, which means that it's mainly designed for selling toys and merchandise and whatnot. However, Pokemon is not as popular as it used to be years ago, and nowadays Pokemon is frequently associated with either the 90s and early 2000s, with kids who want their parents to buy them everything Pokemon related after they got done watching the TV show on Cartoon Network, and of course that anime nerd in school who thinks he's cool because he has all the Pokemon stuff. But then again, anybody who has played the new Pokemon games can understand why the series has a hard time attracting people who have a brain capacity greater than a 12-year-old. Because Jesus Christ, there are a lot of things wrong with the Pokemon franchise as it is now. So let me talk about one of the worst things with the newer Pokemon games, and that is the character design. Now you may be wondering why I'm talking about character design when it's a video game. Big multimedia franchises like Pokemon have characters designed mainly so people get attached to them and buy toys. It's just like all those other multimedia franchises that are pretty big. I mean, people want to buy toys of them, and that's the thing. They design these characters so they can sell tons of toys and that people like them and whatnot. The thing with Pokemon Black and White and X and Y is that many of the Pokemon are just either poorly designed or flat out unlikable. I mean, look at some of the Pokemon from Black and White. You have trash bags, you have ice cream cones, you have Chandeliers, and while you'll have Pokemon fans and whatnot try to use a straw man argument out of it by saying, oh, you're straw manning, oh, you're nitpicking, Generation 1 had its share of poor designs too. More people remember Generation 1's designs than they do many generations afterwards, and I think that says a lot. Because let's be honest here, which Pokemon are you more likely to remember? One based off an animal, or one based off a goddamn Chandelier? I mean, holy shit. Did you look at the Pokken trailer from the other day where they announced a goddamn fighting Chandelier? Yeah, that was from Black and White. They put this Chandelier Pokemon in as a playable character because, you know, that's what you want to play as when you've drank all that Mountain Dew. You want to get fueled for the fight just to play as a fucking fighting anthropomorphic Chandelier. I mean, what the fuck are they on at Nintendo? I mean, I really want to know who their dealer is, because who comes up with that shit? I really want to know. I mean, here's the thing. If you're playing a Pokemon fighting game, would you rather go and pick something like Mewtwo or Lucario, or would you pick a goddamn Chandelier? Because everybody knows the answer to this question, and it's not the Chandelier. But another problem I've noticed with the Pokemon franchise is that the games have become more casualized, streamlined, watered down, dumbed down, whatever term you want to use, all while they've been relying more and more on nostalgia. Sound familiar? Because that's what many of Nintendo's main games have been doing as well, and Pokemon is no exception to this. If you look at Pokemon X and Y, it's a boring, bland, empty, thin, casualized piece of garbage game that is pretty forgettable with a horrible graphic design and art direction. I mean, shit, I've seen older 90s PC games with better graphics than Pokemon X and Y because they are that bad and eye-straining. I mean, looking at Pokemon X and Y's graphics is like putting sandpaper on your eyes. But hey, gamers don't care if a game has good art direction or graphics. Just look how a game with intentionally poor graphics and more stylistic clashes than a Mugen game got a 10 out of 10 from IGN. Even if we ignore the graphics though, Pokemon X and Y really tries to shove nostalgia down your throat. From being able to get the starters from Generation 1 in the game, to the fact that Pokemon X and Y also has Mega Evolutions, which happen to be only for older Pokemon and not for newer Pokemon. And did I mention that Pokemon X and Y also has older Pokemon throughout the game? Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but it's clear the reason they did this, and that is because at this point they're trying to sell off nostalgia. And if you look at Nintendo's current marketing, it's nostalgia, nostalgia, and nostalgia. Buy this new Nintendo 2DS Special Edition and get ROMs of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on your 2DS already. Or go ahead and buy this new Pokemon cards that are just reprints of the old ones. But it's the 20th anniversary, guys. Go buy it because the 90s were rad. The 90s were all that. The 90s were perfect. Yo, 90s, 90s, 90s. Windows 95, Surge Energy, 90s, 90s, 90s. Nickelodeon, cartoons, VHS, 90s, 90s, 90s. And really, that is a lot of what the current Pokemon marketing is like. It's just 90s, 90s, 90s. Whoa, Pokemon like you experienced as a kid. But yet at the same time, Pokemon has gotten more dumbed down and more casualized for kids. And that's the thing with Pokemon. Even though a lot of people who play them are anime nerds and whatnot, they can add a difficulty level option like they did with at least one Pokemon game, instead making the game for kids and kids alone. In fact, if you were to sum up Pokemon nowadays, it could be summed up as a kids game because that's pretty much what it is, with its low difficulty and the whole fact that it's pretty much being targeted to kids because kids will buy anything no matter how good or bad it is. And since we're on that topic, did I mention that Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon pretty much has you be a kid going to school? I mean, yeah, that's totally what you want to play in a video game, especially if you're over the age of 12. I mean, if you have any sense of dignity and you're playing a game where you're a kid going to school and you have to go to all these classes every single day in the game, you know what that makes you feel like? It makes you feel like you're a loser or one of those people in special ed class who obsesses over cartoons and sits in front of the screen and just watches it doing nothing else with their life. That's how it felt to play Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. I have never been more depressed by a video game because that video game made me feel like a piece of shit. And of course, competitive battling's a pretty big joke too. I mean, Pokemon's not even a competitive game, but yet they've been trying to make the games for the competitive audience to the point where they've had stuff like Super Training added into the game, which is pretty much EV training but streamlined, so it's easier to do now. And of course, they've also had these online features and official tournaments for the game. But yet at the same time, it fails at being a competitive game, as not only is everybody not on an equal playing field with people having different leveled stuff, but you also have, with competitive Pokemon battles, this whole thing where you can use a move, it won't hit, but they'll use a move on you, critical hit, you're out. That's what Pokemon's like, because it's not skill-based, it's luck-based. It's pretty much glorified dice rolls mixed with rock, paper, scissors. And obsessing over the gameplay mechanics like a Counter-Strike nerd still doesn't make the game competitive, because guess what? It's not, no matter how you try to spin it. But hey, who am I to speak? My opinion doesn't mean that much, as after all, Pokemon sells millions and millions of copies every single game. And since Pokemon is a toyetic franchise, this means that it's not that hard to make money. All they need to do is take a few Pokemon that are either real popular or that they can make toys off of from the newest generation, and then all they need to do is pump out a bunch of toys with these new Pokemon, feature them in the anime, and then of course feature them in spin-off games. A good example of this is Pokken Tournament, as not only does the game feature a few fan-favorite Pokemon such as Sceptile, Braixen, and Garchomp, the game also features some heavily marketed Pokemon such as Pikachu, which actually appears twice in the game, Mewtwo, which appears twice in the game, and of course Lucario, because you know everybody associates Pokemon with Lucario these days. But hey, I'll give Pokemon credit, at least it has some consistency, and at least Pokemon still sells millions every year, even if it's a total piece of crap. Even if they took a crap and put it on a 3DS game cartridge, it would still sell tons, and even though they have gone many games without making frequently fan-requested games, such as a console Pokemon role-playing game, they still make tons of money doing what they do. Unlike the next series I'm going to talk about. Now let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, quite a few years ago, Sonic the Hedgehog was still relevant. You know, when Sonic first started 25 years ago, Sonic the Hedgehog started out as a Sega Genesis title, and it quickly made the Sega Genesis a hit gaming system. Similar to what Tetris did for the Game Boy, similar to what Mario did for the Nintendo, and similar to what Halo did for the Xbox. It was that big hit game that sold millions and millions of copies and became associated with Sega to the point where they still use Sonic the Hedgehog as a corporate mascot to this day. In fact, if you go to the official Sega forums, you'll still see Sonic the Hedgehog on them as the top banner. But at the same time, Sonic the Hedgehog has become so irrelevant. Sure, just a few years ago, it looked like Sonic the Hedgehog was becoming somewhat relevant again with Sonic Generations, but keep in mind all they really did was take Unleashed and reskin it with plenty of 90s inspired levels, spanning through Sonic 1 all the way up to Sonic Colors. And then after Sonic Generations, Sonic became irrelevant again for the same reason it became irrelevant in the first place. Because Sonic's games after Sonic 3 and Knuckles have been absolute crap, especially the horrible attempts at transitioning into 3D. And Sonic the Hedgehog's 3D games have become the joke of gaming, with long, drawn-out storylines that make no sense, with tons and tons of characters being added for no reason, including 2 characters who could essentially be considered reskins of Sonic the Hedgehog, and let's not forget how the gameplay and camera have been absolutely horrible in Sonic's 3D games. In fact, an IGN review of Sonic Adventure probably said it best. The problem with Sonic isn't that it got worse, it just stayed the same. Because that's pretty much what could sum up Sonic the Hedgehog. It's the same shit every year. Last year, however, Sonic the Hedgehog probably received a hit even worse than Sonic 06 was, and that was Sonic Boom. Now, Sonic Boom had plenty of disastrous game show showings, with one of them even resulting in a game freeze. And of course, there were plenty of people making fun of Sonic's new design because, like I said, Sonic the Hedgehog is the joke of the internet. And while the Sonic Boom 3DS game was okay to above average for a Sonic game, the Sonic Boom Wii U game was so bad it probably hurt the franchise maybe even more than 06 did. And the reason I'm saying that is because not only after Sonic Boom were there a lot of layoffs at Sega of America, but the sales for it were absolutely horrible. And of course with Sonic Boom, that game ended up becoming more hated than 06 did. I've seen more people online who like 06 or who want it to be remade bug-free or who believe 06 would be a great game if they got rid of all the bugs than I do people saying Sonic Boom was a good game. And in fact, another thing with Sonic Boom is the fact that ever since that game came out, there has not been a single main series Sonic game to come out on any system. Sure, there was a port of an older Wii U Sonic game to the PC, but I don't think that counts. And as Sonic the Hedgehog approaches its 25th anniversary, what does Sega have in store for it? Toys, I guess? Oh yeah, and Sonic the Hedgehog also does have a Twitter account and some mobile games. And what does the Twitter account do? Well, posts epic memes about Sonic the Hedgehog because you know that's what Sonic fans really want. They want epic memes. They don't want a new Sonic game. Oh no. They want the same old gotta go fast meme. They want the same old Sonic Hedgehog meme. They want the same old Shia Bauf meme. Yeah. They want epic memes because you know that's what gamers want. They want epic memes. I mean, at this point it wouldn't be surprising if the next Sonic game was pretty much like Borderlands 2, which had more memes in it than a bad Simpsons skit. But then again, maybe it's a good thing Sonic is taking a break. I mean, you know you're doing something wrong when in every single clickbait website with a top 10 list, Sonic the Hedgehog is on every single top 10 or top whatever gaming franchises that should be canned list. But hey, at least Sonic the Hedgehog spent 2015 garnering positive critical reception. Except instead of garnering positive critical reception for releasing good video games, they got it from websites such as The Verge, BuzzFeed, Polygon, Daily Dot, and more prestigious Pulitzer Prize winning journalists on that level because of their Twitter account. Not because they released games worth playing, but because they had a Twitter account that posts epic memes. But hey, despite all my criticism of Pokemon in this video, at least it has one thing that Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't have. At least Pokemon not only had games come out last year, but Pokemon also wasn't reduced to a meme posting Twitter account and a bunch of mobile spin-off games. Pokemon also at least has more brand value than Sonic. You'll find Pokemon bundled on new Nintendo handhelds, but the only thing Sonic will be bundled on are crappy Sega Genesis emulator consoles you'll find at CVS, Walgreens, and those kind of stores, because, you know, they are the new Tiger handhelds in terms of what you get your kid if you're a parent and you don't have much money. All in all, though, I think both series are having disappointing anniversaries, and I think that they speak to the current state of both franchises right now. And that's all that needs to be said. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more videos.